Welcome to Silver Bar Stacker, folks. I hope everybody's doing well and enjoying their Thankful Thursday. That's right, folks. Today is Thankful Thursday, and I just needed to go ahead and state the obvious and say how thankful I am for all of the new viewers and subscribers. My gosh, the last 24 hours or so has been absolutely nuts when it comes to new viewership, new support, and new faces. I've seen a lot of new faces come by the channel, more so than I've seen in quite a while. It's been quite a while since we had so much attention drawn to a video, and I'm not even exactly sure why. I think it might have just had to do with the fact that it wasn't even a full stack video. It was just a video showing a lot of silver, and so I guess that's what tricks the algos into making things go viral. But I don't know, I usually show quite a bit of silver on most of the videos, so anyways, I'm not going to overthink it. It's great to see all of you. I'm very thankful that you all are here, and hey, I wanted to take the time today to maybe cover a few points that maybe might be a refresher for some of you, or might honestly just be new news for all of you subscribers, whether you're a new subscriber or an old subscriber. But since we do have a lot of new faces here, I thought let's just go do a little bit of background, so before you catch up on all the videos, you kind of understand what the heck it is that we're doing here. I mean, this is a lot of silver, and if you'll recall, if you're here for a long time, you'll know that, this is all pretty much vintage silver. And so this is all not, generic silver that you would find close to spot, but it's more like higher premium silver. And that's kind of what I'm really into collecting, and what I even specialize in selling when it comes to selling stuff on the store that we run. So, why is it that I'm doing this? This is really abnormal. Right? It's not normal to collect vintage in this sort of quantity and be so kind of heavy on it. But why do we do that? Well, I'll tell you a little bit about myself, okay? I don't do things like this exclusively with just like vintage silver, for example, right? Vintage silver is something that I'm very, very interested in, and I also look at this as not necessarily like an investment. It's sort of an investment into your future, but it's kind of more of a very, very solid store of value, right? These pieces of silver, especially just the generic melt value of these silver, is very, very stable, right? All things considered. If you looked at the DXY on a chart, you see it kind of going all over the place, and you look at another currency like the Great British Pound, for example. I run another business where we get paid in Great British Pounds, right? And so back in September, when I cashed an invoice, well, guess what? The Great British Pound was in the crapper. So, when we had to convert our dollars from our Great British Pounds to dollars, it sucked because we got almost the equal amount of dollars as we did. In fact, we might have even gotten less dollars. I think it was the first time ever where we got like less dollars than Great British Pounds. We're very, very close to the same transaction rate. And now, just a few months later, maybe 6 months later or so, now we're sitting in a situation, or 9 months later, I guess you could say, now we're sitting in a situation where we get significantly more dollars for our Great British Pounds. And so that volatility between those two currencies is ridiculous, just in a span of 6 to 9 months. And then, so you need to look at each store of value as a separate thing. And so if you look at the price of silver in comparison to the dollar over the span of a long time, you'll find that it is actually very stable, if not even outperforming the dollar over the long term. And so to me, historically, gold and silver, these types of things have proven to be a very good store of value. Not necessarily proven, maybe proven in the long term to be a good investment, you could say, but that's very subjective because everybody buys and sells at different times and has different life circumstances, and there's many times in history where you could definitively say, hey, if you had bought silver or gold here and then you sold it here or there, then you would have lost money, right? So then that makes it not a good investment, right? So you need to look at it, when you're talking about it as an investment, you need to make your own personal decisions about that, and you need to look at your own personal timeline and horizon and figure out how much risk you're willing to take on by holding something, assuming that it will go up or down. But by and large, the people who are kind of responsibly stacking silver, in my opinion, my humble opinion, they're doing it because it's kind of like savings, right? And so they look at it as, okay, well, I worked really, really hard and I created this $100 worth of value, and so I'm going to convert that $100 of value into a couple ounces of silver, and then that way it's locked there and I can't spend it very easily. You can easily just toss it on eBay or something and auction it off and sell it at whatever the market value is, or you could easily just go into your LCS and be like, hey, give me melt value for this, even if you didn't pay melt value, or maybe you did. So it's very liquid. Gold and silver, that's a misnomer. So if you're a new stacker, it's a misnomer that it's very difficult to get rid of gold and silver. Anybody will buy gold and silver, right? You just have to be okay to give it to them for the price that they're willing to give it to you, and the price that they're willing to give it to you is around spot usually. Okay, so or a little bit of a premium above spot. Right, if somebody's giving you less than spot, then they're trying to rip you off, and you can go somewhere else and get a better price. So that's how much demand there is for gold and silver, and there pretty much always will be, because there's so many big stores that are running, that are always consistently offering buybacks of your stuff. They're always itching to get stuff, and especially the LCSs, the local coin shops, they're completely dried up of inventory, and they're reliant on people to bring gold and silver in. Okay, so there's never going to really be a point where, oh my gosh, it's very impossible to get gold and silver, especially generics, and there's always going to be a good price on it, right? They're always going to be available, and there's always going to be people selling them. It's always just available. There's no reason to be like, oh, we're running out of it. So it's not a shortage in that sense necessarily, right? But here's the thing, when you talk about like vintage silver, the reason I like vintage silver so much is because there's a supply issue, right? And that's like a bad thing. That's like a liquidity issue. It means that, there's not enough pieces out there, and every single day pieces like this that are extremely special, 250 minted bar, every day you see pieces like this being turned into the LCS, and then you see stuff like this en masse going out to the smelter just to be melted down, because people don't realize what it is that they're holding. Pieces like this might just sit there and they just collect dust, nobody wants them, and then they ultimately just get rid of. Collections get melted down. It happens still to this day. And so the supply of these highly collectible vintage pieces are becoming fewer and fewer and fewer and fewer. So there is truly a supply crunch when it comes to like vintage silver or discontinued items that aren't being produced anymore. But that's very different than, let's say, like a modern collectible, right? You got a modern collectible where, okay, let's say they make 10,000 of this run, right? Well, that company might still be around, and they might make 10,000 of the exact same item next year with a new date or something on it. And then they might do that the next year. And so you may end up with 100,000 of these items floating around, and maybe nobody even wants those items. And so that's how like modern collectibles, it almost ends up being the same thing as generics in the sense that like, okay, there's so many of these out here, there's so low demand for this modern collectible, it's been overprinted, and there's so many of these floating around that now there's so little demand for it that literally you would only be able to get spot value for this highly collectible piece. Not highly collectible, but highly limited run piece, because it's not actually, yes, it's limited, but it's not that high demand. Now, certain brands like an Engelhard, right? Like an Engelhard Prospector, for example. The Prospector round is the first commercially produced round that was distributed to the public, and this is a Prospector proof. Okay, this is a 1985 Prospector proof. There's only 500 of these out there, of which some of them I'm sure no longer exist or were melted down or something. But this is one of 500 that exist. And so the Prospector round is a very iconic round. And then think about like the proofs, right? So an American Silver Eagle proof, there's like 1 million or so of those minted every year, and people still kind of go pretty crazy over them. They pay a significant premium over that. Same goes for American Prospector proofs. There's very few of these out there, and so people pay a significant premium for this. And I think they will continue to do, because Engelhard is such a reputable brand, right? And so to me, that sort of reputation and brand, that sort of idea that they're not making any more of these, and so they have a fixed demand. It may not be that there's going to continuously be more and more people interested in collecting. I predict that will happen, but that's not necessarily going to be the case. You might have older collectors that were super into Engelhard stuff that's that pass away, unfortunately, and they're no longer interested, and maybe their kids aren't interested, and so the hobby of vintage silver may start dying down, or it may start picking up. There might start to be a lot of younger generations starting to get into this and start picking up these collections that have. I know that's what I'm doing. When I see collections come up, I pick them up. That's how I accumulate so much discontinued vintage silver, because I network with other individuals. Now, because in doing that, I've learned so much. I've learned so much about all the different types of vintage silver that I like. I love Johnson Matthey. I love Engelhard. I even love USVI ingots. I am a huge collector of USVI, United States Virgin Island ingots. These are hand-poured ingots that were produced for A-Mark. A lot of them were produced for A-Mark, but also for some other companies as well, Anaheim Precious Metals and a few other, San Diego Coin Exchange. There's a few varieties of the USVI ingots, but I am obsessive about the USVI ingots almost as much as I am about prospector rounds and Engelhards in general. And so I know everything that there is to know about USVI ingots for the most part. I've done deep research on it, and in fact a few days ago I had called out a eBay scammer on the end of one of my videos because they had been posting these fake USVI ingots. Now these were probably more than likely pure 999 fine silver bars, but what this seller was doing, and this was a seller with 100% feedback rating, but what this seller was doing was they were literally selling fake USVI. I'm pretty sure what they're doing is they're hand pouring these USVI ingots, these normal silver square bars, and they're just printing the words USVI, and then they're assigning a random arbitrary assay lot. This one's assay lot 139. Let me tell you folks, this is not a USVI ingot. I know what every single USVI ingot looks like, and there are certain characteristics to a USVI ingot. Okay, and this doesn't fit any of the criteria of any of the USVI bars that I've ever seen. There's no square shaped bars. There's no bars that have this sort of pour. This definitely looks like a modern pour. This is not something that is an antique. This is not decades old. You can just tell by looking at it. Okay, and just look at this. It's just shameless. And so what I really dislike about this listing, the reason I'm calling this listing out here by name, is because I've seen a couple listings like this by the same seller before. I've had conversations with other very, very large sellers who specialize in collectible and vintage silver and gold, and I've also spoke to other collectors who are big collectors of USVI, and we all agree that this is a fake. This is maybe a real silver bar that has been made to look like a fake. And the reason why I'm very, very sure about this is, I'll tell you why. The reason why I'm calling them out like this is because I'll tell you why. When you go to this listing, look at this. Look at this. Look at the description. 1 ounce 999 fine silver bar USVI assay poured silver bar. I am selling some of the poured silver bars my dad had. He's falling back on his dad. His deceased dad, I'm assuming. If his dad is deceased. He collected silver bars in the 80s and 90s. Okay. Well, did your dad just magically come up with another bar that's a one-of-a-kind that has never ever been seen before, and just like the two others that you sold that look exactly like this that popped up? So he's claiming that he knows nothing about the history of this bar. Well, you know what? Because this bar is a fake. Well, he or somebody else recently made this bar. This is not an antique bar. This is not an old bar, and I feel really bad for these 12 bids here because somebody's going to get taken to the cleaners on this, and it's really, really sad. I've already reported the listing. A partner of mine has already reached out to them when they had previously posted up a different version of this same bar, and their response to us, because we reached out and we said, hey, look, we're big USVI collectors. We've never seen one of these, and this doesn't look genuine to us. Can you tell us a little bit about the history of this bar? And do you have any more of these bars? That's what we asked them. And guess what the response was? Oh, this is the last one that I'm selling. This is my dad's bar, so I don't know anything about it. Really? Oh, it's your dad's bar. Oh, it's your dad's bar. Okay. And the poor guy, he's not the poor guy, the poor people buying this, they're looking at this person's seller profile and they're thinking, oh wow, 100% positive feedback in the last 12 months, 11,296 sale reviews. He's one of eBay's most reputable sellers. Wow, what a great guy, what a great guy or girl. So many great transactions. And look at this, one of his genuine, I'm assuming, bars. Your dad's bar is in good hands. Poor guy. That poor person got taken to the cleaners, because you look at this person's store. Look, they've got a couple modern poor looking bars that they're misleading people into believing that are a vintage. They're not. And look at that. Wow, American Gold Eagle there on the for the profile picture for somebody who sells nothing but automotive stuff. Oh wow, he sells literally nothing but like nitrous and stuff for your car. That's literally all he specializes in selling, and randomly he happens to come across some one-of-a-kind bars that have never ever been seen before. I don't know anything about the Texas Territorial Mint, but I can almost guarantee you that this is not an authentic Texas Territorial Mint ingot. And I can also tell you that he used to post some Tombstone bars, and I know that there's some Tombstone bars, vintage bars, that actually sell for quite a premium, and these bars that he was selling for were also selling for quite a premium. I don't know much about Tombstone bars, so I can't speak to their authenticity, but they look just as clean and new as these modern pours. And all I can tell you for sure is that this USVI assay lot 139 is not a genuine USVI ingot. It's certainly not going to fetch you $167 on the open market. If you go take this to your LCS, LCS will give you close to spot for a normal authentic USVI ingot, but certainly for this you wouldn't get anything from a true USVI collector. I've seen these pop up multiple times and I just completely ignore them and report them. And look at this. These are the two past sales for this exact same thing. 139 is this US assay lot 139. That one sold for 150 as a buy it now, and then they put a second one up for auction. I clocked that first one and I noticed it, and I thought that's fishy. Then I saw this other one pop up on auction, which closed at $281 for a 1 ounce bar, and that has a different assay lot. They put a different assay lot number on that one. And the one that's up for sale now has the same assay lot number 139 again. So assay lot numbers are duplicated for authentic USVI ingots. So that's not actually the issue. The issue is that this is clearly not a representation of any of the past USVI ingots, and there's extensive research that has been done on the past USVI ingots from the collector community, and as well as other documents that are floating around out there. There's no square-shaped poured 1 ounce bars. That's just not a thing. None of them look like this, and each and every single USVI ingot that exists has a very distinctly written assay lot number on them, and there is a method behind how those assay lots are determined. So this is just a completely fake. You got to stay away from this. The user ID is TXTS74. Just stay away from things like this. This is the problem. This is the problem with collecting vintage, is if you don't do your research and you end up with a fake or something like that, you really need to vet these listings properly. You can't simply just go to an eBay store and say, oh, 100% feedback, no problems, I'm definitely going to buy this, no questions asked. No, you got to ask some questions. You got to go do your research. You got to make sure you're not dealing with a scammer, right? And it's best, in my opinion, to just completely avoid, unless you're dealing with somebody you know and trust, or it is an actually reputable dealer. You just have to be very careful and make sure that the people that you're buying from, they've got testers, right? Like we have a metal sigma tester, so we test everything and we make sure we weigh everything, test everything, make sure that it's correct. We buy from actually legitimate auction houses and things like that to make sure that things have been tested. So even if something tests pure, it doesn't mean it's authentic vintage. So you got to be very careful. You just got to be very careful when buying vintage, okay? So that's just my rant for today. I really had to call that person out. I wanted to get into some more unboxings. So should we do it or should we save it for later? Let's just do it. Let's just do it. Canadian vintage. That's always very exciting for me. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what we got in here. Okay, let's take a look and see what we got here. So check this out. This right here, folks. This right here, folks, is a 500 minted bar. I'm really excited to be picking up another one of these. Got a couple of these actually. So this right here is an Argenta Dealers of Montreal, Argenta Dealers Limited, Montreal, Canada, Engelhard bar. This is a 500 minted tier 1 bar. Got some mirror finish on the front, serialized 118745. And it's got a blank back. And so this right here is going to be a similar bar to your maple leaf bar. So you got your Canadian maple leaf Engelhard bar, and you'll notice that this has a very similar front. It's the only difference here is that this is Argenta Dealers Limited, Montreal, Canada, and this is Engelhard with the maple leaf logo on it. But you see it's a very similar front there, right? Just that stamp on the top is different. And the back here, this one's got a little bit of a border. It's a bordered edge. So that's pretty cool. The reason I like this one is because this is actually a rarer version of the maple leaf bar. So now I'm a very big collector of the maple leaf bars. Like here, let me show you. So like these are all my maple leaf bars, right? So I'm just gonna add this here. This is a different type. I don't have any of these large font maple leaf bars. Most of these bars, most of these maple bars have a small font. Yeah, you see that? The numbers are bigger. So that makes this rarer. There's very few of these out there. You won't be able to find one of these easily with the big font on it, with the big numbers on it. It's not likely. So that's pretty cool. It's a really rare bar, so I'm gonna keep this in. I've got a Engelhard 1 ounce rare bars thing, so I'm gonna put this in a capsule and we'll set that in there. So that's pretty cool. What's this? Check this out. This is one of my favorite 1 ounce bars to collect. This right here, Scotiabank. So this is a Scotiabank silver bar. And this one produced by Engelhard. So this right here, folks, is a 1000 minted bar. 1000 minted. Very, very rare. It's a tier 2 bar. Now this right here, folks, is also 1000 minted and also a Scotiabank. It's pretty cool. One of my also favorite bars to collect. These ones come, for whatever reason, come at a slightly lower premium, the Scotiabank Johnson Matthey bars compared to the Scotiabank Engelhard bars. But believe it or not, they're both 1000 minted. And I really had to pick this one up, especially, well, not just, I mean, I would have picked it up anyways, because I love Scotiabank bars. I'm a big collector of them. But I really had to pick this one up in particular because look at that serial. How cool is that serial number? If you can even ever see it. Well, I'll just tell you what it is. It's 005500. That's freaking awesome. So I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited to add that to the collection. Check this out. Scotiabank as well. But this one right here is an Engelhard. So this right here, folks, is I would say one of my favorite. I mean, I really love the Royal Bank 10-ounce bar. That's definitely one of my favorite 10-ounce bars to collect by Johnson Matthey. But when it comes to Inglehards, this is one of my favorite 10-ounce bars to collect. This is 250 minted. Scotiabank Inglehard bar. Really, really nice. Really like that bar quite a bit. So add that to my stack. This right here, you saw, this is a TD Bank, right? This is a 5-ounce TD Bank. And this one you see, it's got fine silver 999 on 3 rows. So what's interesting about the TD Bank bars is that, you know, you've got, have I got any over here? Yeah, here's a TD Bank bar. Oh yeah, here, we got it right here. So these are both TD Bank, right? But if you look at the front here, slightly different. You see on this 5-ounce bar, fine silver is written, 999 is written on 2 lines, and on this one, fine silver 999 is written on 3 lines. Now, it's very, very interesting, okay? So now on the 5-ounce variety of the TD Bank Johnson Matthey bars, this is the rarer of the two. So this is a 500 minted, and this is a 1000 minted, okay? Keep that in mind. 500 minted, 1000 minted. I think that's correct. I could be wrong on that. But the point is that this is twice as rare as this. Okay, this one that has 3 rows. Now, if you move on to the 10-ounce variety and you start looking at 10-ounce TD Bank bars, let me see if I can find some. Here's some. Okay, wow. I just randomly picked 2 and it happened to be the correct. So these are also TD Bank bars, 10-ounce. Now, remember what I said, right? Before I had them structured this way, I said, okay, the one with 3 rows is, you know, twice as rare as the one with 2 rows. It's the opposite here. It's the opposite here. On the 10-ounce bars, the bar that has 2 rows, fine silver 999 written in 2 rows, this is 250 minted. And this one with fine silver 999 on 3 rows, this is 500 minted. So these are both tier 1 bars, but this is twice as rare as this one. And on these, this is twice as rare as this one. It's very an interesting phenomenon. I just find that to be very, very, very interesting. So that's just interesting to note. I find that interesting to note, and that just is what it is. Okay. Now, I've been talking about the Royal Bank bars. Now this one I had to pick up because this is a really nice toner. But again, I picked this up regardless. Came in the original factory seal. Eventually I'm not going to be able to find these anymore. And this one is an extremely low serial number, 1390. I have, I believe, 1 bar that might be that low. And I don't even know where it is. Oh, here it is. Yeah. So this is the lowest bar I have. It's 1275, and this is the next lowest bar I have, 1390. So these are the 2 oldest Royal Bank Johnson Matthey bars in my possession right now. I'm very, very excited to pick these up, and I thank you all for tuning in. Cheers.